it's more important now than ever, in my opinion, to really focus on what matters. Your health, your wealth, your family, your mind.
How many UFOs have you worked on?
That's classified. Kids, they don't care what you say, they care what they see you do and how you act. You could tell them about being stoic and calm and respectful, but that one time that you lose it in the kitchen starts to put doubt about what you're saying to them in their minds.
Life is a pitch. It's simply that. It is a pitch, and it is fun. Well, let's make sure that you're being sold what you want and you're selling what you actually want to sell. I really just love selling. It's the easiest thing on the planet if you believe in yourself. Let's buckle up. By the way, my name's JL. This is Sell Anything.
Justin, welcome to the Sell Anything podcast.
Thank you, man.
So good to have you here. I have a question. How many UFOs have you worked on?
That's classified.
No, you have to.
Well, it depends who you ask what a UFO is, okay. When we started seeing the F-117 fighter jets, in the 90s or so, everyone thought that was a UFO, but it's not. It was just a fighter jet.
Okay, that's fair.
It's unidentified. Yeah.
So now everyone's probably thinking, what on earth is he even talking about? Give us a little bit of background on why I would ask that question.
Well, we were just talking about my background. I did a podcast yesterday talking about what's going on in Iran. And the reason that I did that is because I have a combined about 14 years experience with the military in active duty or a civilian capacity, specifically working fighter jets and fifth generation stealth fighter jets and how they interact with all of our ships, submarines, satellites, ground units, all of our spatial capabilities, our weapons, our electronic warfare, all of that.
Wild.
And all of that is what is being deployed right now for the first time like this that anyone has ever seen. Because now we're also merging in drones and AI analysis of the battlefield and everything and real-time targeting. And the war or conflict, whatever you want to call it, that's going on in Iran is completely different from anything else we've ever seen. And I think that's why a lot of people don't know what to think about it.
So this is what I'm curious. Would you call what's going on in Iran a war or a conflict?
I call it a conflict.
Okay, so you don't think it's going to be like, holy Hannah, we got World War V here?
Well, I mean, it definitely could. And the night before that we launched this conflict, obviously I didn't know it was going to happen, but I put a video out saying, I hope we find a way out of it.
Yeah.
I hope we're able to negotiate, cool things down, keep Israel from doing any attacks, all that. But it did happen. Mm-hmm. So the main reason that I did not want it to happen is because war is messy and chaotic by nature.
Yeah.
Even with all these surgical precision strikes that we have and the air superiority, which is now air supremacy that we have over Iran, by all accounts, things are going very good from a military standpoint. It's also just so easy for things to spiral in the wrong direction, even maybe by accident, especially when you're talking about these big shipping lanes. And now we're kind of potentially fighting by proxy Russia through Iran, and China's kind of in the shadows doing some stuff. It's just one of those things where I'd prefer not to have it going on right now, but we're in it.
Yeah.
So it's my opinion now that we are in it, that we need to have a decisive win and then get our boys home.
Makes sense, dude. I agree. I agree 100%.
But it's messy.
Yeah.
It's very, very messy. There's a lot of power. One thing that Trump has been doing over the last year is rearranging the world and the power structure. He went over to the Middle East and made homies with all these guys that are just now being attacked by Iran, which is why you haven't seen Dubai, UAE, Jordan, anybody put out a condemnation of the strikes on Iran, because they're already on our side, essentially. They want Iran taken care of. So he's kind of restructuring the whole power structure on the world, even with NATO and EU and all these things. It's the whole world's kind of a tinderbox. Yeah. So I'm glad that we have the superpower military, but it's still like, I would really like to see this thing wrap up one way or another without crazy escalation.
So what I heard as you were saying that is, so Trump, he goes and makes homies with all these other people, which in my mind, when I look at Trump, yes, he's the president. Makes sense, he's the president. But through my lens and how I see the world, homeboy's a salesman. Mm-hmm. He's smooth and he knows how to make things happen. What would you say the purpose behind what he did, how he did it, and now making the strikes that he's making? Like, what would you say?
Well, Trump is also consistent. He's been saying he doesn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon basically for 30 years. So even though he's been,
so does Iran trying to get a nuclear weapon? I'm so naive to this space, bro.
Yeah, so that's been the deal for a long time. But it's one of those deals that you have to take with a huge grain of salt, because I guess we can just say his name, Bibi, over there in Israel, especially, has been saying for 32 or so years that Iran is weeks away from getting a nuclear weapon.
Okay.
So we know that they have been enriching uranium, and the more you enrich to a higher percentage, it becomes more readily available for a weapon. So you need a low yield enrichment for power, for nuclear power. So what the biggest contention here in the discussions with, hey, are we going to bomb the shit out of you or not, Iran, was if you want nuclear power, fine, we'll help you get that. But if you enrich over a certain point into weapons grade, we're not going to allow that. So we'll let you build nuclear power. You have to let us, ensure that you're not enriching further beyond that into weapons grade. But you can have nuclear power, no problem.
Yeah.
They said, screw you, we're not doing that. But this has been going on for like 30 something years.
Okay.
So this whole Middle East thing has been a mess for thousands of years. There's a whole religious angle that we could get into as well.
We probably go down that road too.
Yeah.
You know that angle too?
A little bit.
Okay, cool.
It's very interesting when you start to mix all of that in, because this has the potential to not just be a conflict that's about terrorism. Like that's something we're used to. And it's a little bit easier to say bad guy, good guy, where, we have to win type thing. But when you start to look at historical and religious context over thousands of years and disputed land and bloodlines and, this religion against that religion and everything, it's like, okay, we're in completely different territory here. And the guy that we took out, the leader of Iran, the first guy that we killed, the Ayatollah, he was the number one of that sector of that religion. He was basically their pope.
Okay.
So
and what religion specifically are we talking about?
Islam, the Shia, essentially.
Okay.
So, and I don't know a ton about all of that, just to be clear.
Okay.
But he was essentially the president of the country and like their religious leader, kind of like their pope.
Okay.
So the question is going to be...
we took him out?
Yeah, us in Israel.
Okay.
So this conflict that happened about 8 or so days ago.
Yeah.
Israel and the United States teamed up.
I'm so sorry. I'm just new to the party.
Yeah.
8 days ago, we took this dude out?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is all happening as we speak, yeah.
Okay. I knew there was a conflict, but I did not know any of the story behind it.
Okay.
Okay. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So, let me back up a little bit then.
And probably most of my people don't either that listen to the show because they're just all like, hey, I'm happy to be here.
Well, that's a good point, because
Yeah.
we all have so much going on in our lives.
Yeah.
And before this happened, we were already, looking at AI issues. We're looking at energy crisis. We're looking at the Epstein files. We've got all these crazy things going on with scams and fraud and all this stuff that has a lot of people, rightfully so, like super, on edge.
Yeah.
Now there is a conflict potentially boiling into World War III.
But all we see is the
what are we
Epstein
supposed
files.
to do about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And right before that, Trump told Hegseth, who is the Department of War secretary, go ahead and unclassify all UFO files.
So I could lead with it, UFOs. I like where this is going.
See, you're actually right. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm of the opinion that right now, one of the things that's happening to the American and the whole people of the world is a saturation with so many crazy things on purpose, so people don't know what to do. They don't know what to make of it. They can't focus on anything because as soon as you start to zero in on this other crazy thing happens. And I think it's information overload, especially with a lot of things that are tied to emotion and they're tied to anger, they're tied to religion. I think on purpose, people are just being blanketed with so much stuff so they can't do anything.
Okay, and obviously this is all theory, right? So meaning, when you say on purpose, for what purpose? Why are we being blanketed so we don't know what to do?
Well, if you take any of those issues, if we were just to drill down AI alone, for one that everyone talks about, what could happen with AI? Well, everyone's seen the movie Terminator. Right?
Yeah.
That is a real possibility, something like that.
Yeah.
AI becoming self-aware, becoming super intelligent, meaning it is smarter than all humans combined on the planet. We don't know what it will do. And if something is that smart, we can't even really conceptualize how to plan against it because it's smarter than everybody combined.
Yeah.
So just that one thing alone, I think, could drive a lot of people crazy and scare a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right? So then when you release things like the Epstein files, people rightfully so get fed up about that and seeing what they perceive as potentially satanic pedophile people running the world.
Yeah.
That actually is probably what's happening. As crazy as that sounds.
This makes sense to me. There is so much noise. I agree with that 100%. There's so much noise and there's so much deception and so many lies out there of like what is actually true.
Yeah.
But if we boil it all down to the very basics, it's what's your relationship with God, what's your relationship with your family, with yourself. Can you emotionally regulate yourself?
Right.
Where are you at? So, and that's kind of what Earn It All is all about, which is one of your companies, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly right. Because if you were to focus on any, especially all of those things, what's going to happen? You're going to go nuts.
Yeah, 100%.
You know,
like in the 4-minute conversation we had, I was like, dude, I don't even know what's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we don't have to, dive Alex Jones down all of those paths. But,
Yeah.
but what happens when you, as a leader of your family, go nuts? The people that look up to you and rely on you, they see that something's going on. Now they get more stress.
Yeah, they don't feel safe.
And now the whole family unit starts to be chaotic, and that spreads out to your business. That spreads out to everywhere else.
Yeah.
So I think it's more important now than ever, in my opinion, to really focus on what matters.
Yeah.
Your health, your wealth, your family, your mind, the things that you can control, because all these things that we just mentioned are going to keep happening regardless of what we do about it. No matter what we say about it, no matter how many protests we have, apparently no matter who we elect, all these things are going to keep happening.
Yeah.
So it has to come back to like your family unit and what you can control if you really want to have a good future, in my opinion.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
100%. It actually makes me think of a story, and to just make it personal, I don't even remember how old I was, but I remember getting around the table with my mom and my dad, and we sat down to have dinner, and my dad had been watching CNN or something and was just beside himself.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I had been taught, we don't swear, we don't swear, we don't swear. And my dad is just cursing like a sailor, dude. And I was just like, what is happening? And so just being naive, I was like, I thought we weren't supposed to swear. Bad idea. Don't call your dad out when he's pissed. Did not go well for me.
That's right.
But I, as the leader of our family, or supposing to be the leader of our family, you're right. When his emotional state is not in check, I'm getting beat, and who knows what's happening.
Right.
So yeah, it's. I get where you're coming from. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, do you have kids?
I have 7. Yeah.
7 kids,
Yes.
man. That's amazing. Congrats.
Yeah. And there are moments where they're like, "What is happening? What's going on with Dad?"
Yeah.
And it's when all the noise creeps in. And you're not just focused on the basics. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because the kids, they don't care what you say. It's they care what they see you do and how you act.
100%.
So you could tell them about being stoic and calm and respectful and all the things under the sun every single day. But that one time that you lose it in the kitchen because you're fed up about whatever thing that's going on in the news, that starts to put doubt about what you're saying to them in their minds.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that even if we are freaking out about something and there is a real threat to worry about, like, okay, how about we handle that in a way that is not going to spiral the family in the wrong direction?
100%.
And especially as men, a lot of time that's difficult for them to do, especially if you introduce things like alcohol. Yeah. That just usually makes things worse, makes people more angry. And now the kids are just sitting there like, man, I don't get it. Dad usually tells me a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing right now is conflicting with what he's telling me.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes it doesn't take a lot of that for that to kind of just, now that's the opinion of the kid about the parent.
It's so true, man. So you have kids, right?
I do. I have a little 7-year-old, which is why I'm wearing this tie. I took her to a dance last night.
How'd it go?
I had not put a tie on in I don't even know how many years, but I did it for her. She's 7,
Yeah.
As I'm there, I'm like, this is actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
I'm still learning from my little one as I'm teaching her. So I'm just going to wear it today on the podcast. But it was fun. It was kind of chaotic. They're 6 and 7 years old.
Yeah.
But it was cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Man.
And I also have two grown stepdaughters who are out doing their own thing. One of them works now for Tesla on battery development.
Okay.
Used to work for Lockheed Martin, like my wife.
Yeah.
And so they're out doing their thing, but they're all girls. So household full of girls, which really has been a blessing for me as a man. I always wanted boys.
Yeah.
But man, I just love having girls and being their protector and being their dad.
A lot to unpack just in that statement, dude.
Yeah.
So I have 5 boys, 2 girls.
Awesome.
And I'm actually down here in Arizona right now for a cheer competition for my daughter, right?
Oh, cool.
And so as we were picking my daughter up last night from the dinner before the competition and then playing at the pool or whatever, my wife and I had been on a date and we were like kind of flirting back and forth, right?
Yeah.
And my daughter was like, what? And I was like, well, you're just going to get a little brother. And I was totally kidding because that's not happening.
Yeah.
And she's like, why a little brother? And I was like, dude, boys are so much easier than girls. Which I say that there's a whole different element of being a girl dad than being a boy dad. Because my first 3 were boys. and it was like, dude, rub dirt on it, you're fine, let's go. And that's still kind of the opinion. But now we talk more about emotions and stuff like that. But still, at the end of the day, if there's some dirt, let's rub it on it and let's just keep moving. But with daughters, there's a protector mode of like, I don't care what they say or do, I will go to war for them. Like, it's a thing. It's a weird deal.
Yeah.
But with my boys, I care what you say and you do. And if you did it to yourself, dude, you're in the war by yourself until you need me.
That's right.
So it's a weird dynamic. But so tell us about Earn It All in the men's group, because you probably get a lot of dudes coming in that are lost, looking for some help. Is that why you put it together?
Yeah, one of my favorite aspects of that is doing in-person work. You know, we did online coaching for 3 or so years. We've wrapped that up because I really want to spend my time working one-on-one with people. I like that significantly more than online. That's just my personal opinion. So we are bringing our Earn It All retreats or experiences back so people can actually experience that.
Okay.
Because I like to put together really unique stuff, no matter what I do. I don't like to just do the same thing that anyone else has ever done. So when I was doing my men's retreats last year and a half or so, I mean, it's a great mix, in my opinion, of what it really means to be a man, getting your butt kicked, working with firearms, working with knives, you know, people that are professionals at this, you know, SEALs and Rangers and the best hand-to-hand guys around. Yeah. But then also we go in and we're doing breath work, we're doing sweat lodges and doing a whole state shift of your mind, you know, because a lot of men have so many things in there that never come out. And a lot of the times it takes a really unique experience where you're doing things maybe you're a little uncomfortable with, allows you to let your guard down and finally allow that, whatever that thing is, to come out and get out.
Yeah.
So once I saw that was possible, like running them through our process and having guys literally change their name afterwards, having guys completely change their lives, change careers, just finally having that shift that they've always needed, but they couldn't get just from reading a book or listening to a podcast. Yeah. I was like, dude, this is for sure one of my callings.
Dude,
it's really neat to actually see it happen.
Yeah.
And not just talk about, you know, whatever kind of physical results. That's great. I'm all about people getting healthier. But man, when you see in someone's eyes that when they tell you that you changed my life, you saved my marriage, or I'm changing my name because of how different I want to be from how I've always operated, it's like, damn.
Dude, that's huge, man. So the one thing that stood out the most, a lot stood out, but the one thing that stood out the most is the word callings was plural. You said one of my callings. Yeah. Talk to that just a little bit. What else are you doing? What are you feeling called to do?
Bringing my first brand back that was called Earn Your Booze. Okay. I talked about that before. You know, I was a sailor, so they say sailors cuss and drink, you know.
Is it true?
It is true.
Okay, cool.
Unfortunately. Yeah. Or fortunately, however you look at it. You know, hey, whatever it takes to be the most lethal Navy in the world, you know, and if it's that, fine.
Okay.
But essentially, you know, I've always been about working out. Like it was always just my thing. I always wanted to be in shape. I just felt good doing it. I liked the way I carried myself, and I've always just wanted to be healthy. Yeah. But there was always a good amount of drinking going on, especially in the Navy and right after the Navy. So that kind of spawned over into, you know what, I need to help people not drink as much. Because when I moved out here, I helped open a supplement store right down the street from here called Peak Nutrition. At the same time, I was brewing beer and like kind of started to help like beer brewers and brewery owners and stuff like that lose the beer gut. And I was like, damn, this is working so good. Why don't we take this more seriously instead of just kind of a side hustle and make this a brand? So we launched that in 2017 on Veterans Day weekend, and it took off. And we were in Men's Health Magazine and Liquor.com, and partnerships with all the biggest drink brands on the planet you can possibly name, and all of that. But COVID essentially ruined it. So long story short, I have refined everything that I have learned over the years through Earn It All and through like guys like, we're friends with the Sean Pollard and others of really how to effectively help people in that space. So we are launching Earn Your Booze to redefine what it means to drink responsibility and give the people that need it another option besides complete sobriety. And a lot of people will get there, don't get me wrong, like I barely drink now, but making that leap sometimes from however much someone drinks over to complete sobriety is just a bridge they'll never cross. So if we can help them in the middle, get healthier, work on the relationships, make more money, and actually see what it's like to have something when it's been earned. That's our whole purpose there. So I've learned that is definitely one of my callings, because everyone else that does it is kind of like a gimmick type thing. Like, yeah, I can be fit and drink and here's my program type thing. I'm like, no, dude, this is a whole lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know, that if you take it seriously, I know can work now because I've seen it with thousands of people. I've seen this actually work in real life where people do improve their lives and they're able to stay happy or find, you know, reasons to celebrate because they're doing so good in business and with their family and whatnot. So that is definitely another one of my kind of niche callings for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I like to do a lot of off the wall stuff, you know, like that's different. Like nobody ever really tried to combine, you know, that whole fitness industry and the nightlife party, bartending, drink industry.
But they exist.
They're completely different.
Yeah.
There was just like a, you know, mild crossover here and there. I said, nope, we're going to slam it together. And that's why it worked.
Yeah.
And that's why all these magazines and liquor brands were like, finally, someone taking it seriously. Let's do some work.
Okay. So because we started talking about UFOs.
Yeah. I know what you really want to talk about. I can see that.
No. I actually don't care. Like,
Okay.
I'm sure they exist. Dude, I'm so naive to weird things, not weird things. Things that I'm not educated on, I'm going to call them weird. That's how I'll label it, right?
For sure.
But the idea of UFOs, and then you said COVID shut it all down, and then all of the little history lessons you've given me with the noise that's been happening.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on COVID? Just noise?
It was a total scam. Yeah.
I knew it.
100%.
Okay, tell me more.
And it's all this data is coming out right now.
Okay.
They have all the studies now that people who have been vaccinated, significantly higher chance of basically all mortalities, all cancers,
Really?
all issues with your heart, with your brain, with everything. I just saw.
So people are trying to kill us.
Yeah. So that goes back to like, well, who? How would that be a thing? Why?
Yeah.
You know, is this world run by good or bad? Or both? Or like, what kind of world are we living in if that is what's happening?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. Like I just saw a report where they, you know, I think it's within 90 days of putting out a product, a pharmaceutical company is supposed to put out the report of how it's going so far. And they always have, you know, whether it's a vitamin or a shot or something like that. With this one, they didn't do it. And so they had to be sued to release it. And they finally released it, 222 pages, if I'm not mistaken, completely 100% redacted.
Okay.
Why is
Again,
that?
uneducated over here. What does redacted mean?
It means if you say, hey, Justin, give me a report on something. You say, cool, here's the report.
Yeah.
And you open it up and it's all blacked out and you can't read anything. That's redacted.
Oh, that's not even a report, man. That's my homework when I was in like elementary.
That's
the
right.
dog ate it.
So normally things are redacted when you're putting out a report that might have something classified in it, or it might have an ongoing investigation. So you could say, hey, here's what happened in this situation. The name is blacked out, so you don't know who it's talking about. Maybe because that person is a CIA asset or they're under investigation and we can't, you know, have their name come out because it might affect the investigation. But here's the information other than these couple little things.
Wow.
For these reasons, this entire report was redacted, the entire thing. So what does that tell you about it? Because if it was all above board, if everything was fine, and it was actually a vaccine, if it was actually studied beforehand, if it was actually studied afterwards and had good results, they would have their data all over the place. They'd be hanging it up on big posters, being proud of it, right?
100%.
But they're not. They're hiding all of it.
Yeah.
They're trying to. So now that it's coming out and they're seeing people are actually being damaged and getting sick from it, it goes back to like, well, why did the world shut down for that?
I have no idea.
I don't know. And I'm always going to have kind of a contention with this because it did ruin my business in a way.
Yeah.
You know, we were kicking ass. Like I was throwing a pitch out at the first pitch of a Rockies game here in Scottsdale to kick off an event that we had at the ballpark a couple months later, a month or so later. And all of that got lost. They shut down spring training.
Yeah.
All of the liquor brands that were sponsoring had to pull their budgets back. All the venues shut down. It essentially ruined 3 years of hard work for me.
Dude, I can only imagine, man. Yeah.
So whenever we find out who's responsible for that, you can probably tell how I'm going to feel about that.
Well, you have access to like the drones and stuff now. We can get them, dude. Let's go get. Oh, dude, that's wild. Okay, now I got it. Now I got to shift back out of the conspiracy. Now, do you call them conspiracies if they're true? How does that work?
No, that's just the truth.
Okay, cool. So really, what it sounds like: earn your booze or earn it all, and everything that you're building is actually to cut out all the noise and just get back to the truth.
Yes.
Just get right down to the truth. So what are those for you?
So for me, it's like, well, what really matters in life? It's being healthy first and foremost. Because you can have all the money in the world and you can have the best family in the world, but if you're sick and your body is failing you, you're gonna be leaving the family. And what's the point? You're not taking any money with you,
Right.
So you have to prioritize your health. And another quick side note, conspiracy type thing that a lot of people like to say is, all the work that RFK is doing, outlining that our food has been poisoned forever, which is true. Our water, our air, everything around us is making us sick and has been making us sick for such a long time. I think it's ultra important now, especially when you have kids, to understand what we are feeding our kids. Because if health is the most important thing for us as the leaders of the family, because we need to be there for them, just as important or right next to it is the health of our families.
Right.
What are we feeding our kids? Because especially when they're in their developmental phases, if we are feeding them things that are damaging their mitochondria or damaging their brain, damaging their immune systems, that is stuff that's going to stick with them forever. So the things that really matter, I think first and foremost is health.
Okay.
First and foremost. And that's physical health, but also mental health.
Right.
Because you could also be physically healthy and jacked and look the most amazing person
Crazy
in the world.
AF. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're crazy and you're not, able to show up strong, especially as a father or as a husband, when difficult times come, you're not doing your job there either.
Right.
So physical and mental health, I think, is number one. Then after that, I'm not going to try to say the money is next or your circle of influence is next or whatever, but who you spend your time with is ultra important.
Okay.
And being able to support your family, I think financially and in every way possible is incredibly important as well. Because with all these things we keep talking about going on in the world, what does money do? It gives you more options. If you need to move somewhere because something happens and you don't have the means to do it, that sucks.
That does suck, dude.
If you find out that all the food you've been feeding your kid is poison and the answer is to go buy more expensive, healthy, locally produced food and you can't do it, you have to keep feeding your family poison.
Also sucks.
Also sucks big time.
Yeah.
So the more that you can secure your financials, the more options you have to better lead your family. So that's why wealth is in there as well. Yeah. So if you really just think about it, you could probably spend all of your time working on the health and the wealth of your family.
Yeah.
Especially if it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual health of you and your family.
Absolutely.
That's how I want to spend all of my time now.
Okay.
It's a big realization that I've had over the past year or so is if I could really just do anything, I would stop doing all social media. I would stop doing everything, podcast, everything, and spend all of my time leading my family.
Okay. So
that is my next goal with my business is to get to that point. I have a 36-month window that I would like to be able to do this in.
Yeah.
We got to have targets.
Absolutely.
And when I can get there, that is how I'd like to spend the rest of my life.
It's leading your family. Dude, that's powerful, man.
Yeah. And if in my little one, she's 7 now, if she, ends up growing up and moving on, instead of maybe sticking with us, because I also have some pretty interesting views, I think, around the family.
Okay.
My older stepdaughters, they're gone. They live, one lives here, one lives in California. But I look at my 7-year-old now, like, I'm not itching for her to go through school, go through high school. She's definitely not going to college. And then jumping out and going into some apartment and trying to do her own thing and scrape by and be out there in this mess of a world. Why?
Yeah.
Why spend all of these years developing as a family, developing her, and just send her out in the world to go and struggle and figure it out?
Dude, let's dive into that a little bit. I like that. This is a cool idea. And that doesn't exist. Or when I say that doesn't exist, you don't ever hear anybody talk. This is the first time I've ever heard somebody say it that way.
Yeah.
But it makes sense to me. So where did this come from?
Just looking at all the stuff we've talked about in the world, and by no means am I paranoia, and I am probably the most positive, optimistic person ever, even with all the stuff we've talked about that I kind of see right in front of my face.
Right.
I'm still like, well, that's fine because that's the way the world is.
Yeah.
I know we're going to be okay because I know we can get there. I know I can take us there. So I just look at my little one, man, just being 7, she's still in that completely innocent stage, where she just, you just know, that stage, right?
Yeah.
Where like they say stuff and you're like, oh, thank God. She is still completely oblivious to the evil in the world and everything. She's just totally innocent. And I love that.
Yeah.
But I know that's not always going to stay like that. So as she's growing up, you look at what other people and institutions want her to do. They want her to believe certain things. They want her to spend a certain amount of years learning a certain way. They want her to become a cog in the machine a certain way. They want her to vote a certain way. They want her to kind of just mix in with the rest of the normies, if you will.
Normies. I like that. That's a good phrase.
Yeah. And, and I think about, like my life, I'm 42, I went through all of that, I did high school. I went to the Navy. I have college degrees, and then I had a real career, in aerospace. And then I ditched that. And now through my own personal endeavors in business, I've finally woken up with my business experience, and now my daughter, raising her from nothing up to 7 or like right now, that there's no reason to send my pride and joy out into that mess. So I am raising her right now. I've taken her on since day one as my own personal one-on-one coaching client, as well as her daddy.
I love it.
So she still has fun. She still has ice cream. Like, we don't live under some, drill sergeant dictatorship or anything like that. She's still a kid, still gets to have tons of fun.
Yeah.
But we have conversations all the time, and have for years, about, like, for example, what does it mean to earn something? I have a video. She was probably 5 or so at the time, going on for 20 or so minutes about what it means to earn something.
What'd she say?
She essentially nails it in her own way. She goes, well, if I want ice cream, then I know that I have to, make sure that I pick up my toys and put my clothes away and be nice to mommy, and then ask and say, please, and stuff like that. So I'm trying to install these good morals in a way that she understands why they're there, and they're not just because daddy or mommy said so.
Huge.
So I'm like, okay, if I can do that now with education, I'm teaching her how to think about stuff. She'll come home from school and tell me what one of her friends says, or something she learned in school, and I'll unpack that with her. Yeah. I'll ask her questions and make sure that she really understands it. So I just look at this going forward like, man, someday she's going to be 18 and then 24, 25 like my other daughters, right? I'm building her into, in my opinion, like one of the most important people of her age. And
they can think for themselves.
Yeah. And, what is she going to do with her life? I don't know. Like, I feel like if she is going to do something more mainstream, she might be on the moon or might go to Mars. She might be someone like that. We come from that background. We've got multiple friends that are fighter pilots and astronauts and whatnot. And I think that is a cool cause to put consciousness on another planet. I really like what Elon's doing with that. Yeah. So if she does something like that, I think that might be an area that she goes towards. Yeah. But I'm also like, well, we are getting so close as a family unit. She loves Earn It All. She comes on calls with me. She loves to scream, I am elite, when we sign off. Yeah. She's all about this. She wears a shirt that says Earn Your Toys at Christmas time. Yeah. And so I'm like, man, if I'm developing her into this, why would I let that go? Not that I'm trying to control her by any means, but if I can create a better opportunity for her to stay and work closely with me and mama, instead of going out into the world and just getting thrown through the tornado of all the other mess, I feel like that would be a better path for her long term. And that's my ultimate goal, is to set her up long term for success and happiness.
Dude, that's powerful, man. I like that a lot. That is so cool.
It's an interesting way to look at parenting, though, because it kind of goes against everything else.
It goes against everything, because everything else, like, you're 18, you're out, bro. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And, and I was ready for that when I was a kid. I was a band nerd, and I didn't want to continue playing through high school, but my parents had me finish out. I'm grateful that they did. But, it's a big reason why I joined the Navy. 9/11, that happened my junior year. And then also I just wanted to do something so completely different that I joined the Navy. So I've always kind of been looking for different things. And now that I see her, I'm like, man, throwing her to the wild doesn't make any sense, especially when some of our biggest fights right now are around education. Right. And they're around what you're supposed to think, what you're allowed to say culturally. And I'm like, no, we're not messing with any of that.
Well, and the thing that stood out the most is you said, I'm raising her, I'm raising her so that in her age, she's one of the most important people of her age. Yeah. That identity alone, and you instilling that in her of like, what you do matters, you are important, she will lead other people. Absolutely. She will do other things, because that's what she has been conditioned to believe, which is powerful, man.
And she does it now, and it's really fun because she'll come home sometimes like complaining about how this certain friend, said this or does that, or still eats candy when she's not supposed to, or these kind of things. And so I let her know, like, well, hey, look, not everyone is going to think like us. Not everyone is going to do the same things that we do. They don't know a lot of the times.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't mean you have to correct them every single time. But
Yeah.
I'm just helping her become more aware, like, oh, this is what I'm learning at home. But how come I'm not seeing it over here? Oh, because we're different.
Mm.
And they might get there, but it's taking them longer. So I'm already training her to kind of, like you said, be a leader.
Mm-hmm.
But my biggest thing is to be aware of what the teachers say, aware of what her kids say. And that's when it goes back to what I was saying earlier, aware of what I say.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't act the way I'm telling her to act, she's going to see that. And I have her call me out on that.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude, it's a thing, man, that your kids will put you in your place faster than anybody else on the planet. Where it's
absolutely.
Like, what on earth did you do? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's cool. Okay. So my biggest burning question though is with Earn It All, like where do you see it? And when I say biggest burning question, I probably need to rephrase that. What do you see it doing? Do you see it going worldwide? Do you see it like is it already worldwide? Like what is the whole concept? How are you positioning it so that with all the noise that's happening, it stands out?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
So Earn Your Booze is going to be the main thing that you're going to see everywhere again.
Okay.
Because that is such a good niche. And just from strictly a business marketing standpoint, like that is a very unique niche that I cornered back in the day.
Yeah.
Trademarked. I probably have like 30 trademarks or so around it.
Yeah.
And so that is the main thing we are pushing because I know it's the quickest and easiest way to help people. It almost doesn't need an explanation. Like if you've never heard that before and you're somebody that drinks, you see somebody say Earn Your Booze or you see a video, you watch a little clip about it, even without a ton of explanation, they go, it's Friday. Did I actually earn what I'm about to do? You know, So that is the easiest way, in my opinion, to kind of start to wake people up. And then from there, the deeper dive is Earn It All.
Okay.
So Earn Your Booze, the first 3 years that I was doing that became global very quickly. It's
so
kind of just went everywhere. So
Yeah.
I was very proud of that. Earn It All, and that's going to do that again. The way that we are going to launch Earn Your Booze, I think is going to catch a lot of people by surprise.
Okay.
Because I've been on the back end utilizing all my contacts, all my experience, and setting things up the way now, after 10 years of business experience, I know that we can do it to win. So that I think is going to catch a lot of people off that maybe thought it was dead because it's been on the shelf for a while.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the main one. Earn It All, I am reserving essentially for men in our retreats.
Okay.
That's what I've decided to do with that because we've done online coaching. We've had thousands of clients come through. You know, we used to work with Sean Pollard and others and whatnot. But I've realized that online, for me, at least in my opinion, is not worth the squeeze. You can help people for sure. I highly prefer to help people like this, especially men that need a real state shift in person. So that is going to be reserved for people that, one, can afford to come to it for the almost unbelievable high-end experience they could possibly imagine that is going to result in them coming home a completely different man.
So, and you, earlier you said thousands of men. You've seen it with thousands of men.
Yeah.
Give me like the top, not even the top two, just give me the one story. You don't have to say names, but that just like, you're like, holy Hannah, that was a state shift. That is an identity shift. That dude changed.
Yeah.
Give me one of those.
So I had one guy come to one of my retreats.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout all of this, he's running through the programs and he's doing things that are very uncomfortable for him. He's around new guys. And, this is up in Sedona. So we pull everyone out of the city, out of their regular life and take them up to a big compound. We got a handful of houses on it. And so they can't go anywhere.
Do you just rent that or do you own it? Or
we rented that at the time.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
It was a partner's of mine. He owned it. So we got it that way.
Okay.
So they come up there. There's no escaping from it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a 24/7 immersion that is very intentional the way that we run through it. So this guy, as he's going through it, we get to a point maybe on the second day or so, and he decides that he's going to share some stuff with the group he's never shared with anybody before.
Here we go. I'm right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he shared about how he was living his life behind the scenes regarding his wife and their relationship.
Mm.
And you could see it as he was talking about it. You could just see his shell cracking. And at first it seemed like, wow, this guy's really pouring his heart out. But as he even finished up, we talked about it for a while. You could just see a complete state shift in him, getting that monkey off of his back, getting those lies out that he's wanted to get out forever. And so through that, this is the guy that, because he was given the opportunity to completely own his past mistakes and completely own that he is not that guy anymore and wants to go in a new direction for himself and his family, changed his name, called his wife while we were there and said, honey, here's what's been going on. Here's what I'm going to do about it. I'm also changing my name. And like on the phone did this, and it worked for him.
And what was her response?
Her response was essentially, she was overwhelmed with crying and
probably hurt.
Kind of hurt.
Yeah.
But also, like many relationships, they had been having some things going on for years.
Mm-hmm.
To hear him say, "Hey, I am owning this.
Yeah.
I am sticking with our family. Here's how and here's why," and addressed a few other things, that they had already kind of, had going on.
Right.
It was the biggest thing ever for her. And I remember maybe a couple weeks later, her reaching out to us that had led this event, thanking us for it.
So cool.
And, we got on FaceTime and then basically it essentially worked. And I was like, dude.
I want more of that.
Like, even if that was the only success story of that thing, why would I not do that more? That just helped his kids.
Yeah.
That helped his whole community. And from there, he started a business that is now working.
Right.
So you just see it completely changed. He went from having a certain job that he was, okay with, but, having some issues with. The families was okay, but having some issues with. He was definitely having some issues with himself. From there, he completely changed, saved his relationship, started a business, fixed a relationship with his kids. All of that happened from this one thing.
Oh, dude, that's powerful. A question that just keeps coming to mind because before you, Aaron was on here, right?
Yeah.
And talked about how many online coaches are out there.
Yeah.
And then you obviously didn't set out to be an online coach. You set out to do events and incredible things, and you're throwing pitches at games and then COVID forced you into the online space.
Right.
And this is such a loaded question.
Good.
Such a loaded question. With the ideas of conspiracy and deception and lies and all the crap that's out there, how many online coaches would you say are that? It's just like, dude, this is a freaking facade. That's not his. That's like, how would you decipher through all those people? Because as people are coming into your world, that's probably a question of like, how do we know you're the real deal, man?
Yeah.
How do we know that we can trust you and jump in to earn it all and you're going to help make a pivot where I can get clean and be the guy that I'm supposed to be?
Yeah, it is unfortunate what has happened to the coaching industry, because if you think of the old school guys like Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins,
Zig Ziglar, all those guys.
Zig Ziglar, that's right. Og Mandino, I used to read his books all the time and everything. Those guys, I think, really led the way, and they really helped a lot of people, including my father.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my dad always listening to that kind of stuff. He got into Amway and he was listening to all of those, and it was all kind of good stuff. Whether or not MLM works, it's a different subject maybe, but
for some people it does.
It absolutely does for sure, and I saw that firsthand.
Yeah,
but those guys started it, and I think what happened is a lot of people realized that because I'm either in great shape or because I've made money or just because I just think I can do this, maybe I can sell or whatever, I can persuade people, I'm going to do this coaching thing. Because if you look at the numbers, it's pretty intriguing. Yeah. If you have 1,000 people at any number a month, you can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Whether it's $10, $49, $500.
Yeah.
It
adds up.
It adds up big time.
Yeah.
So what that has done though is the coaching space, and this is one of the reasons why I was fine essentially for now getting out of it, is there's a coach for everything. If you need a firefighter, barber, dad coach, he exists. If you need a guy, if you need a guy that is a tire expert and somehow that is turned over into a coaching group, that exists. There's a coaching group or a coach out there for everything. But most of them, in my opinion, are doing it for the numbers. They're doing it for the money game. Yeah. And that is why you see a lot of content that's out there. It might sound good. It might have a good soundbite, which is why people might get attracted to this person that's going viral and saying all these maybe kind of on edge kind of crazy things. Like, oh yeah, it sounds like they're speaking truth. It sounds like they're speaking experience. But once you get in, you realize there's no substance. You realize it's all a money game. You realize, oh, this guy took $100,000 from me and I'm getting a fucking Zoom call. What is going on?
Yeah.
And that has happened across the board with every industry, whether it's fitness or sales or you name it. And I think a lot of people have just said, like, just think of the normies again out there, right? And there's nothing wrong with being a normie. Like, everyone's a normie in a way, right?
We all have our own normie. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So imagine all the normies looking out there and seeing everybody as a coach. There's a makeup coach. There's a plant coach. There's a this. They're like, what is going on?
Right.
How is everybody an expert? Well, they're not. And even, people sniff that out without even knowing they're sniffing that out. But some of the biggest names right now have done such a bad job or a good job at ruining coaching for other people that I think the whole industry is just, that's why it's suffering. I know a lot of guys in this space, and it's a known secret, I guess is the way to put it. Coaching numbers are declining. These groups are declining, and it doesn't mean it's going away, but the way it was going, we are definitely seeing a pullback from the public now. And I think it's because most people have been exposed as frauds or grifters or full of shit. They don't really stand by what they say. They do the opposite of what they say, maybe, all that. And so it's a big mess. It's
like what you're saying with your kids. I get into your space, and at the kitchen table, what you're doing is actually way different than what you've been telling me.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me.
And that's the unfortunate part about social media is, if you have the right look or the right personality or the right whatever, algorithm, you can say things and get a lot of people to say, oh, I think I align with this guy because
let me just put that hashtag on there, baby. I'm going to do
exactly.
that.
Oh, yeah. He said one thing I agree with. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to go roll with him. I'm going to give him money. And then you realize, damn it.
He's an idiot.
Just wasted it just like everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, here's, and I don't know your stance on this, and so I'm just going to open the can and see where it goes. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. So over the last 20 years, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, Tom Hopkins, all the OGs, Tony Robbins, all those dudes, like all of them. I just on auto. That's in my ear,
right,
on the treadmill, whatever I'm doing, I'm just listening to them, right?
Yeah.
Loved it because it helps get you more in alignment with who you are.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the internet becomes a thing, and then you got all these coaching groups, and you've got all these movements, and you have all these things going on. What I have found I know, like, this is, for the people who know me, this is like an exposing fact, but I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on personal development.
Sure.
Hundreds of thousands. And so for the people in my inner circle they'll probably be like, you're an idiot. I probably am, dude. But I did, right? Mm-hmm. And after having made that much or spent that much money, now with that being said, I did learn things. I have had some success because of the things that I've learned. But if I strip it all away, what I am finding is it is all in the Bible. It is all in Scripture. Truth is truth. And so my thought is, and this is just, the coaching space is cool because it can help the barber who wants to be a firefighter figure out those next steps. But at the end of the day, if God could just be your coach, if God could just be your mentor, because you decided I'm going to spend time in His Word every day, I'm going to listen to Him and just get back to that fundamental of truth, I'm finding the needle moves way faster taking that approach than following all of the trends and the hashtags. Which then leads me to my actual question. So the idea of earn it is huge. I agree. There's a cause and effect. That is all throughout Scripture. Where does grace fit in for you? Like, where does I have only can do so much before I just have to surrender and say, okay, God. And this is presupposing you believe in God. I don't even know. But that's the question. But where does grace fit in of, I can't control all this chaos over here anyways. I don't know what's going to happen with Iran and this, but God, you got this. Help me. Where's that with you? Does that make sense?
That's the ultimate answer.
Okay.
Because if you cannot control all these crazy things we've talked about, what are you going to do?
Okay.
You have,
You're so grounded that I'm like, where's he getting this grounded from?
yeah,
that's what I want
you
to know.
have to have faith in a higher power, because if you can't control it and you think things are going to potentially get out of control, what are you going to do? You're going to go nuts if there's no hope.
Yeah.
You know, so if you have faith that things are going to work out, or worst case scenario, maybe things don't work out here on earth, but it's going to be okay in the end because of where you go next.
Yeah.
Then I think that's everyone can benefit from that. And then the other thing is a very good question. The other thing is, you know, to get into heaven, to be forgiven and to get into heaven, there are things to do, right?
You got to do it. Yeah.
So I say that is how you essentially earn, you know, the grace of God. And so I think if we are doing what we've talked about here, and we are, you know, earning the right to lead our family, we're earning the right to be healthy, you know, we are earning the ability to provide a better life for our family. We are being a respectful person that is able to be surrounded by other good people. We're doing these things under that kind of earn mentality.
Yeah.
I feel like it all aligns to take us to a better place in the next life. So I do 100% agree that, and I'm glad we brought this up, because as we're talking about, I mean, these are very serious things. We're talking about potentially war.
Yeah.
We're talking about potentially
Terminator
AI
being real, bro.
turning into Terminator. Like these are not just things that are just sound bites. That's one thing I've always been against, is just saying things for sound bites. I don't like that. But these are realities of our world right now. And you can't do anything about any of those things we just mentioned. So if you can ground yourself in what matters, including whatever you want to call God or the creator or your higher power, and live according to that word, absolutely that is the icing on the cake that holds everything together.
I love it, man. I agree 100%. I just, as you navigate through all of the array that we have talked about, I'm like, he is so grounded. Where is this coming from? So I was just curious.
I mean, you know, and this is a major props to my parents, you know, raising me the way I was. I grew up in church. I was confirmed Lutheran, I think, in middle school. You know, always played music in church and went to church all the time, went to vacation Bible school and all those things. And even though I haven't been a regular churchgoer in years, I've really gotten closer to God than ever before. And that actually came from, the biggest thing for me was my first men's retreat that I put on for people. Yeah. Because I like to do everything that we send our guys through while we're there. I will do everything, including the breath work and the sweat lodges and all those things. And what I got out of it personally is also one of my reasons to keep doing it, was a true partnership with God. And not just an obedience or not just an understanding. When I was doing the breath work, which is the last thing that we did, that first time especially, I fully submitted to who I am, what I'm doing, and I got what I can only describe as a partnership with God that basically said, okay, you want to keep doing this stuff? You want my blessing? Okay, here's how you need to keep operating and doing it. And so it was the next level for me, not just doing my best to live by the word, but it was like, no, I have a more direct line now. It really kind of took my understanding of the world up a bit. And also, like you just were pointing out, made me really realize that no matter how good we do at our core elements here of health, wealth, and victory and respect and all those things, that is still not enough. Yeah. You have to have the higher power glue to hold it all together. Yeah. The foundation has to be a higher power.
And I bring it up because I am curious because the dudes who are coming into a retreat, from just my experience, they're all high-performing dudes. They all have some discretionary income to be able to come into that world, right? And so there is this mentality of, I do have to earn it. I have to earn it. I have to earn it. And eventually, for me personally, it just led to, I am done. I don't care. I am burned out. This is not fun anymore. Right. Like, it does not matter what I have. This is lame. Right. And the only piece that actually came was just finally realizing, I'm doing my best, and God's got my back. Yeah, that's the only place I could find peace is, am I really doing my best? And if I can look myself in the mirror and say, yep, and I've surrendered to the fact that I don't have to control and God's got my back, the whole world opens up, and it's like, dude, this is amazing.
It does, because you reach a whole new level of kind of unstoppability, if that's a word.
It's a thing. I
Right?
agree with you. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because it is like, if you're like, man, I'm doing everything I can do here. And sure, I fail sometimes and I do my best to not make the same mistakes twice. I'm doing everything that I can as a man today. But if you also feel and know that you are backed up by God
Yeah.
and you're not actually contradicting that.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens to a lot of guys is they might go to church or they might read the Bible or something, but they know their actions are still in conflict with how they're supposed to be acting or behaving. I think that's what causes a lot of mental spirals for men, is probably why the suicide rate is so high for men. It's because they're not telling themselves the truth.
Yeah.
So if you can get to that point where, hey, I do have a partnership with God and I am leading my family, I'm leading my business, I'm leading my life in a way that no matter what happens in the world, when I get there, he's going to say, well done.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of takes a lot of pressure off. Like
100%.
at that point, it almost, I would say almost, with a big grain of salt, almost doesn't matter what happens in the world. Because we know travesties and crazy things have always happened and they always will.
Yeah.
So if you're that grounded and that rooted in what matters to you and that higher power, it kind of doesn't matter what happens.
That's kind of why I don't care about UFOs.
Sure.
I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, it could be. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to worry about, getting, lazed, this weekend by a big UFO or something, like, yeah, that's a pretty crazy thing to think about. But if you're like, well, hey, even if that happens, like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to go to God. I'm ready to go see heaven.
Yeah.
It really does just kind of lower your stress and everything a bit.
100%.
You know?
Okay, so here's my last question for you. And we end every episode this way. What's the one thing that you would tell the audience, that a younger version of you, what's the advice you'd give so they could be more sold on themselves?
That's a good question.
It's the only good one I actually have. So
no, that's a very good one.
Thanks.
Tell the truth.
That's huge.
Tell the truth first and foremost to yourself, because I think when we have a lot of times years of lying to ourselves, it becomes very easy to lie to everybody else.
So true.
So if you can tell the truth, no matter what it is, like this is one of the things that I drill in to teach our daughter, is tell the truth. If you mess up, don't try to hide it.
Yeah.
And she actually got an award last month for telling the truth, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I just thought of that right now. So I think especially a lot of young guys, there's so many influences out there that want their attention, that wants their power, it wants their soul, really. It kind of wants them, to stick with this ideology or this thought process or this group or something. There's a lot of internal conflict that goes on.
Yeah.
And if a guy starts to lie to himself about whatever it is, it's very easy for that to spiral and just become a huge part of your life and part of your personality. So I would tell the younger generation, just own everything.
Yeah.
Own everything. Don't blame anybody else. Because it's so easy. Like if you mess something up, instead of trying to cover it and try to blame and try to fix it, if you just say, yep, I totally messed that up, the clarity that you have to actually go fix it from saying that you messed it up is unlike anything else. That is a superpower.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
So just own everything, own the truth, especially at a young age, and keep that going your whole life.
Dude, so true. 100%. I appreciate that. Thank you for saying that.
You bet.
And Justin, thank you for coming on, dude. This was fun. I actually had a ton of fun. Like I was like, we're going everywhere. I don't even know where to go with it. So thank you again for coming on.
Hey, you're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.